Many times one of Marvel's greatest villains, other times, the greatest hero of mutants, today is the day to revisit Magneto's history, from his origins in the comics to the most current moments. Stay until the end of the video to get the full story of the Master of Magnetism. Known by many names, Max Eisenhart, also known as Eric Magnus Lyncher, is a powerful mutant willing to go to any extreme to protect his species as the Master of Magnetism, Magneto. With his entire life being a target just for being born different, Magneto rejected the possibility of any harmony with humans and aimed to conquer the world to allow mutants, whom he referred to as Homo superior, to become the dominant species on Earth. First appearance, Magneto emerged in the X-Men 1 comic book from 1963, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Origin: Max Eisenhart was born and raised in Nuremberg, Germany, into a middle-class Jewish family. While attending a local school, he became attracted to a young Romani woman named Magda, the school janitor's daughter. Max did things like making necklaces for her and excelled in sports events to get her attention. Coming back from school one day, Max stumbled upon a rally of German soldiers from World War II and found his uncle Eric severely injured and holding a sign saying he had disgraced a German woman. Shortly after, at a school event, Max won a javelin throwing competition to impress Magda, and the next day was accused of cheating, under the belief that a Jewish boy could not possibly outperform his Aryan classmates. Max had to repeat the competition and won again, but was accused of cheating once more, expelled, and beaten up by the other children. His father Jacob had been a World War I veteran and refused to believe the nation he had fought for was turning its back on him. Max accompanied his father to see Major Jürgen Scharf, whom he had saved during the war. His father waited for the major and was beaten by a group of soldiers in Scharf's office and resisted arrest. After hours of beating, Major Scharf threw Jacob out of his office, stating they would have killed him if it weren't for him and that they were now even. As things worsened in Germany, Max's father was forced to accept reality and led the family to Warsaw, Poland. They would not be safe in Warsaw, as the city was occupied by Germans after the start of World War II. Max and his family escaped from Warsaw. On their way to a hideout, they were captured by German soldiers. When they were about to be executed, Jacob saved Max's life by pushing him out of the line of fire without anyone noticing. Max was eventually found and captured and spent his early adolescence imprisoned in the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland. In 1944, Max witnessed Mr. Sinister and geneticist Joseph Mengele operating in Auschwitz. Max distrusted Mengele and, consequently, became a Sonderkommando to prevent being selected for the geneticist's experiments. While in Auschwitz, Max was reunited with Magda, and when the Sonderkommandos revolted, the two escaped together. For several years, Max and Magda lived in a village in the Carpathian Mountains, eventually married and had a daughter, Anya. Unsatisfied with the simple life of a mountain village, Max moved his family to the Soviet city of Vinnytsia, then in search of a better life. Despite the trauma of his youth, Max's powers had been delayed due to a hepatitis crisis contracted in Auschwitz. On his first day in the city, Max used his powers for the first time by magnetically hurling a crowbar at his boss, who was cheating him in his payment. When he returned to the inn where he and his family were staying, Max saw it was on fire, and his daughter Anya was still inside. He tried to use his newly discovered powers to save his daughter, but his boss had called the KGB, who brutally assaulted him and prevented him from rescuing Anya. The child was gone, in front of her father. Driven by this event, Max then used his powers to destroy the men holding him, the crowd watching, and a large section of the city of Vinnytsia as revenge. Terrified by her husband's powers and overwhelmed by the tragedy, Magda fled, unaware she was pregnant with twins. Without his daughter and wife, Max sought out a forger named George Odekirk and asked him to create a new identity for him, a Holocaust survivor Cindy Romani named Eric Lyncher, so that Max could search for Magda among her own people, but his efforts were in vain, as Magda had died in Trancha. Max added Magnus as his middle name, and although many knew his story as a prisoner, no one knew of his life as Max Eisenhart. Under the guise of Eric Magnus, he worked in Israel as a volunteer at a psychiatric hospital for Holocaust victims. It was there he met and befriended Charles Xavier. They often debated about mutants coexisting with the rest of humanity, although neither revealed to the other that they were mutants. After the two men teamed up to rescue a mutual friend from Baron von Strucker and his Hydra agents, they revealed their powers to each other. Magnus seized Hydra's gold and set off for unknown parts, realizing that their visions and those of Xavier were incompatible. Magnus asked mutant Cassandra Michaels to create his first costume, believing that with all the brightly dressed heroes and villains walking the earth, it was imperative that he do the same to make a statement. At some point, Magneto had an affair with a married woman and had a child named Lorna, but her mother hid the child's true paternity from her husband. Before we continue, if you are a fan of the X-Men, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. You will receive daily videos about everything happening in the Marvel and DC universes. Years later, Magneto reappeared with a suit and helmet designed to protect him from telepathy. He was determined to conquer the human race to prevent mutant oppression, as the self-proclaimed savior of the mutant race. Magneto had also created an orbital space station, Asteroid M, to use as a base and began to gather his original Brotherhood of Mutants. Needing only powerful mutants in the imminent war, Magnus recruited a pair of twins to the Brotherhood after saving them from an ignorant human mob, but didn't know that one day they would be presumed to be the children Magda had hidden from him. Pietro soon wanted to leave constantly, and Wanda disagreed with Magneto's dark ambitions, but Wanda felt indebted to Magneto for her life, and Pietro would never leave her alone. At this point, it was clear that Magneto was in a psychotic and maniacal state, triggered by a combination of factors, including the excessive use of his immense powers. X-Men and the Brotherhood. Professor Xavier's original team of X-Men thwarted Magneto's first act in his war against humanity, the takeover of the missile base at Cape Citadel. When they faced off again, Magneto overthrew the government of Santo Marco, establishing himself as the absolute ruler, and led his original Brotherhood of Mutants. Subsequently, Asteroid M was destroyed in the battle with the X-Men. Rejuvenation. During a battle with a being named Alpha, Magneto was transformed into a baby. Professor Xavier placed the baby under the care of his colleague, geneticist Dr. Moira MacTaggart on Muir Island. Dr. MacTaggart tried to alter Magneto's genetic structure so he could better deal with the massive forces he controlled without adverse effects on his mind. Dr. MacTaggart hoped that with time and proper nurturing, Magneto would grow to become a better man. However, not long after, Shi'ar Eric the Red restored Magneto to adulthood, though younger than before. Due to Magneto's rapid rejuvenation by Eric the Red, Magneto's body had healed from the damage he had caused with the excessive use and abuse of his powers. His mind, however, took longer to heal as his brain needed reconfiguring, and the damage was not easily repaired. So, after a brief period of more psychotic behavior, Magneto began to calm down and reflect on his past. When Professor Xavier was dying, Shi'ar Lilandra Naramani appeared to take him into space to be healed by her science. At this point, Professor Xavier asked Magneto to take over for him and be the headmaster of his school for the New Mutants, but Magneto's presence there caused the original X-Men to revolt by having to fight alongside the enemy, leaving the team and forming X-Factor. During this period, Magneto acted as the White King of the Hellfire Club and tried to integrate them into the X-Men, but over time, he abandoned the New Mutants for believing he couldn't further Xavier's dream and isolated himself in the orbital base Avalon. There, a group of mutants asked him to be their leader in the quest for a more egalitarian world, and they became his acolytes. Magneto proposed to the world an offer. He wanted a place, a kind of sanctuary for mutants to live in peace. The rulers and even the X-Men believed it was an attempt at domination, so the X-Men opposed Magneto, and during the battle, he removed Wolverine's adamantium during the Fatal Attraction saga, a moment that served as inspiration for the current animated series X-Men 97. Logan's great suffering led Xavier to erase Magneto's mind, but a piece of Magneto's psyche entered the dark recesses of Charles Xavier's mind, leading to the creation of the villain Onslaught. The Acolytes took care of Magneto for a long time, but after the base was destroyed, Magneto returned to Earth in search of a new battle against humanity, the Magnetic War, where he threatened to reverse Earth's magnetic poles in exchange for leadership of Genosha Island, to turn it into his mutant paradise and free the mutants living there who were imprisoned. Clone. A Magneto clone named Joseph was created to be used against him. His clone encountered the X-Men, who confronted him, thinking he was the real Magneto. Magneto took advantage of the clone's existence to implement his plan to create a mutant nation on Earth in the Magnetic War event. The clone helped stop him by sacrificing his own life. However, even so, the UN was intimidated by Magneto's threats and granted him sovereignty over the nation of Genosha. Later, now as the leader of Genosha, he declared war on humanity once again, kidnapping his friend and rival Charles Xavier. During this battle, Wolverine attacked him, leaving him paralyzed. Polaris, his daughter Lorna, took care of Magneto after these events and discovered that he is indeed her biological father. Shortly after the events of the E is for Extinction storyline, where the massacre of Genosha occurred, similar to what recently happened in X-Men 97. When new Mega Sentinels attacked Genosha, Magneto was still in a wheelchair and severely injured so that he couldn't use his powers effectively. It seemed that he had been killed in the attack, but he actually survived after being hidden in a shelter by his fellow mutants. Months after the event, a team of X-Men searching through the rubble found what appeared to be a recording of Magneto's last words. Ideas of mutant supremacy credited to him became widespread in mutant communities, with some considering him a martyr of the mutant cause. At that time, an imposter emerged and wreaked havoc in New York. Meanwhile, Magneto gradually found his way out of the rubble and somehow survived until he was contacted by Xavier. Magneto had no memory of what had happened to him, from the moment the Mega Sentinels attacked until Xavier contacted him. With the world again believing Magneto was dead since Wolverine had defeated the imposter in New York, Xavier and Magneto decided to work together to help rebuild Genosha. House of M. During this story, Magneto calls Charles Xavier to help Wanda in Genosha. Quicksilver manipulated his insane sister to alter reality and create the world of House of M. In the new reality that emerged, Magneto appears as the sovereign of the mutants of the world and ruled his subjects from Genosha. Magneto had received dominion in this realm after revealing a supposed international anti-mutant conspiracy involving Richard Nixon in 1979. Believing Magneto was responsible for the change in their world, a group of heroes, whose memories of the real world had been restored by Layla Miller, banded together and attacked Magneto in Genosha. During the ensuing battle, Layla was fortunate to be able to restore Magneto's memories as she had done for the others. When Magneto learned about Pietro's role in distorting reality, he attacked his son, enraged by everything he had done on his behalf, and crushed him under the weight of a Sentinel. After Quicksilver's rebirth, Wanda blamed her father for what Pietro and she had become an altered reality once more, declaring no more mutants. At her command, Earth's mutant population lost their powers. Magneto became powerless, a normal Homo sapiens, along with most of the mutant population of the world. The X-Men left him in the midst of the ruins of Genosha, a broken and shocked man. Only in the final saga Avengers vs. X-Men does he fully regain his powers. At the end of this story, Magneto admires how Cyclops gathers and leads the X-Men, prompting him to join him and form a new team of X-Men. During the Axis storyline, Magneto discovers he is not the father of Wanda Maximoff and Pietro. More recently, Magneto has joined forces again with Professor Xavier, ending their long-standing feud and helping establish a mutant nation on the living island of Krakoa. Magneto has served as one of the most prominent figures of the budding nation, both as part of the Quiet Council of Krakoa and as a hero of the mutant race. Master of magnetism, Magneto is one of Marvel's most powerful mutants, classified as Omega level. He can generate electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic pulses, and use the magnetism around him to fly. Other media. Magneto has appeared in all X-Men animated series, such as X-Men from the 90s, X-Men Evolution, Wolverine and the X-Men, and most recently in X-Men 97. Additionally, he has made appearances in films and even in games. He is not truly an enemy of the X-Men. He is in favor of mutants, even if he has to take extreme measures. He is one of Marvel's greatest villains and one of the most beloved characters by the audience. Did you know Magneto's story? Did you like how he was portrayed in X-Men 97? Write in the comments, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to stay up to date on everything happening in the Marvel and DC universes. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.